for joining us. I appreciate you being here today. Obviously, I'm joined with a number of my colleagues from the House Republican Caucus and some friends of ours from the business community. We wanted to talk about the corporate tax and how we think it should be handled with respect to scaling it back and ultimately repealing it. I think if anybody's noticed the conversation, the dialogue in this state over the last month specifically, it is that the approach we have with respect to taxes on businesses is not working. We actually filed a bill almost a year ago, to repeal the corporate tax. I think most everybody in our caucus was on that. And I think people at the time of the increase of the corporate tax, realized that that was not the route to go. And as we listened to the discussion over the last month that business after business potentially will be coming to the state and looking for relief, and doing it on a one company per company basis is not the way to go, and that we need to look at this in a broad-based approach of making sure that businesses and companies in this state and outside this state have some certainty and stability, and that we approach it from a tax policy, as I said, in a broad-based way, not doing it one business at a time. Before I get to the specifics of this bill, I would suggest and make an observation that it's more than just a tax policy that businesses want. They want a budget that's balanced. They want our bills paid. They want us to tackle Medicaid reform. They want us to tackle retiree health care reform. And they want us to look at pension reform. They want all of those things looked at, both short-term and long-term, and we're committed to doing that in different ways. But what we would suggest with respect to the corporate income tax is to say, under the bill we filed, that the repeal and the backing off of this would start in January of 13, where we would reduce it from 7 down to 6, and then January of 14 it would go back to 4.8. As you know, the current law takes it back by 1 point on January 15th, and then it doesn't repeal back to 4.8 until 2025. So we would, on the first part of our bill, repeal it in that way of 1 point and then back to 4.8 in the second year. The second thing we say is that any time subsequent to the passage of this bill that unemployment over a 4-month period rises by more than 0.3 of a point, that the corporate tax would reduce by 1/4 of a point. And that's another way to kind of jumpstart this discussion of reducing the corporate tax. Again, we feel this provides some relief to businesses. I'll point out and note, and I applaud them, that 7 Democrats sponsored a bill they filed this morning to roll back the corporate tax effective January 1 of this coming year, which leads me to believe that the Speaker will probably call us back into session between now and January 1st of 2012, because we're going to have to get that done. We obviously support that concept and are willing to do that. But if he doesn't want to move that bill, we think our bill makes a lot of sense. And the fact that we have 54 Republicans and there are now 7 Democrats talking about repeal, it's obvious we can pass this in the House. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dwight Kay, who has a business background, as do most everybody behind me from the House Republican Caucus and our friends in the business community, who gets this and understands that. With that, Dwight, I'd like you to give us your perspective.